Hello, my name's Patrick, I'm an artist, and I am launching a comic book today. And this video is the first in a collection of updates about the comic and its development. In this video, I'm going to talk about three main things: how I got into making comics, how I developed this issue, and my plans for the future. I am a small creator who's running at this from a passion for storytelling and a desire to share my process with others, and I hope you can join me on this journey. And I figured while we take a look at this stuff, I'd work on an image just for the fun of it in the background. So, how I got into making comics. I think the most important thing to note is I'm not a professional. I mean, I like to consider myself an artist professionally, but I've never really worked in comics or really worked in art beyond my own making of stuff. I got into comics through a love of storytelling and a love of drawing, and both of those started in really weird places. So, a love for storytelling started as a pastor and a preacher. Part of what I would do, I used to speak to young people, and I would tell stories from my own life. And though I was all right at different parts of my job, the thing that I really enjoyed most was telling a story and making people laugh or making people happy. And because of that, I slowly developed just a love of what it means to tell a story. And so when I found myself sitting down and starting to work on a comic, I realized that I got a chance to tell the stories I wanted to tell, to have fun experimenting and working on ideas to make something interesting and enjoyable. And so yeah, I have a passion for storytelling. The second path, my love of drawing, came from being a wood carver. Truthfully, I liked drawing when I was a young child, but I stopped for many years of my life. I went on to do other things with my life and career, and I wanted to get into painting miniatures, but I didn't have any money, so I learned how to carve wood. And over time, that passion for carving wood became impossible to deal with because my hands hurt too much. And so I had to try something else, and I went into sculpting, and I sculpted for a few years, and I really love sculpting. I still sculpt, but it's not what I do all the time anymore. And as a part of sculpting, I developed new characters and ideas and things, and eventually found myself drawing pictures. And those pictures have led me to today, where I'm drawing my own comic. And so yeah, I fell in love with drawing by being a woodcarver, and I fell in love with storytelling by being a pastor. And I suppose what I'm trying to say, for anybody out there who's like listening to this and thinking, oh, a comic book artist, that must be a really complicated path. I think the truth is that there's no ideal way to become anything, to become a comic book artist, to become, whatever you want to be. There are probably better paths than the one I took, but my path came about by discovering passions I had and discovering the things that made me happy. And so I got into comic book making because I like telling stories and I like drawing pictures, and turns out I like making comics. So with that in mind, let's go to issue 1. So I've written a short story comic for a character called Exofox. This is Exofox 1 All In. But let's talk about the how. First of all, like I said, I have no real experience, so I had to learn a lot during this development. And actually, there are a ton of resources on YouTube and other places for learning. My favorite is Jake Parker. He does some excellent stuff, lots of super helpful info, both on the how and on the attitude of being an artist full-time. And they're really smart in their approach to all things art. I think they're wonderful. You should check out their channel. For me, learning about comics was one step, but actually doing it was a barrier that I couldn't get over. So I forced myself to do my first comic ever, not the comic I'm releasing right now, but my first comic ever in the worst way possible. And you can see that in my past video called the 9-Hour Comic Challenge. I drew a comic from a blank page to 8-page little short story comic in about 9 hours. I think it was actually 10 in the end, but the challenge was to do it in 9. And when that was done, I had learned a whole lot, and the main thing I learned that I can actually do this. I can give it a try. The second thing I had was a character named Exofox, who I had really fallen in love with. They are a rogue figure, a gun for hire, does their own thing, and just has a great time. And so yeah, I had this idea that I could do this, and I had a character that I really liked, and I had no idea what to do next. And I think that's a strength. You know, I still don't exactly know what this Exofox comic series is. It features Exofox, and they have adventures, but I don't have a grand narrative. I don't even have planned simple narratives, really. I drive this comic book ship without a map into the great beyond, and I think that's kind of exciting. But to get from character to comic, I figured out I needed 3 things, and I made them in this order. First of all, I needed an idea for a story. In this case, the basic premise was Exofox needs a new ship. And I took that and expanded upon it by answering the question, how does someone like Exofox get a new ship? And you'll see if you take a look at the comic, Exofox gets a new ship through some interesting means. Once I had a really loose idea for a story, I also needed to design some sub-characters. People who are in relationship with Exofox, be them friends or foes or neutral or whatever. And so I worked on a few distinct characters who I thought would be fun both for this comic and potentially for future comics if they ever had need to arise again. And last but not least, I had ideas for some pictures that would make me happy. Some singular shots, if you will, that would be linchpins to the design of this whole thing. Things that I wanted to see on paper for this character that would then help me move from point A to point B and so on and so forth. And that's really all I had. I had a very loose sense of what it was about, who was in it, and I had a few fun images in mind, and all of that had a loose sense of how it worked together. Now, it's at this point that I should probably say, I would guess that the average comic book creator might say this is a terrible way to approach a comic. And honestly, as years go by and as my experience grows, I might find out that that is not the best way. But for me, today, for the project I was trying to make, this worked. I was able to sit down and draw and sketch and think and ink and color and word and finish a story. It's not an epic tale, but it's a story. And it was fun to draw, and it has fun pictures in it. And for me, I think that's what this is all about. And so yeah, I'm releasing Exofox All In today over on my website for about $6. Or if you're a Patreon member, you can check it out there. But yeah, Exofox #1, All In, is completed. Let's take a look at a few of the first pages, just for the fun of it. And so what comes next? Well, not to spoil anything, but the comic ends at a pretty clear direction of what might be happening next. And so I found myself back at the paper with a loose idea for a story, a few character designs, and at least one picture that makes me happy, and I'm in the process of sketching it out. My hope is I can get the next issue together in about a month and continue the process of developing ideas about this character, this little world, and the little stories I want to tell about it. And the last, and maybe most important thing I want to just put out here as I think about development for the future. I like doing this, and so I'm going to do this. Little known secret about me, I am in the process of trying to figure out my life. I am a bit lost at times. And the only thing I have to guide me in that right now is finding things that make me happy. Things that make me proud of myself. Things that make me look at what I've done with my time and my energy and feel good about it. And this comic book is that for me. Whether, again, it is, exceptionally loved by all, whether it makes other people happy, this is secondary for me right now to the idea that it made me happy to do it. It makes me happy to share it. And so, yeah, I'm going to do this because I like doing this. And ultimately, I just want to say, for anybody out there who's working on a new project or getting out there to try something, let me encourage you to pursue the things you like and you love, because it makes a huge difference. And really, for what comes next, the rest is TBD. For now, the first issue is available on my website for $6, and it's for free for my Patreon members. If you're interested in hearing more and seeing more about this process and my work, consider following me on here, subscribing and all that jazz, or becoming a member on Patreon. I am going to try my best to make these development blogs for this project as things get developed. But for now, I'm just happy to be drawing dumb pictures on the internet and to have a moment to share that with you. So thanks for being here. And until next time, keep being awesome. Bye.